Welcome back to CS50 Python, week 2 called loops, and we're discussing today the problem set called just setting up my Twitter. And as you see here, Twitter without the vowels, and this is the same exact thing that we're asked to do today in this problem set. As we can see here, let's summarize this. We're gonna prompt the user to enter a text, and we're gonna output the text but removing the vowels. The vowels, as we can see here, they are the A, E, I, O, and U in an uppercase format or in a lowercase format. Another thing, which is the for loop or the iteration. We can iterate through a list, we can iterate through a dictionary or through a tuple. Same thing, we can iterate through a string, as for example here for C and S. S is a string, so we're going to iterate through each character inside this string, and we're gonna print the each character and end with nothing, and we're gonna see why in a moment. Without further ado, let's get started.
This is CS50.
Before we get inside the problem set, let's understand some string methods. One of the string methods that we're going to deal with, or we need to understand, is str.replace old with new, and optional here, optional argument is count. What does it mean? It means that if we have a string, we can use .replace to enter something to replace it with another thing. Let's take an example. For example, if we have a text here, and this text, let's say it equals hello world, and we need to replace something in this text with another thing. First of all, we can use it directly inside a print function, or we can create a new variable for the new text. Let's use it directly through print function. So we can say print text. This is the string as we see here. Then we need to use .replace. So text .replace. Replace what? We need to replace the L, for example. So let's say L with what? With nothing. We want to delete all the L's inside the text. Okay, and let's print that out. Python or Py. If you're using Windows, you can use Py only. If you're using Mac or Linux, you have to use Python or Python 3. So Py Twitter.py, the file that I'm asked to create in the problem set. Enter. Here you can see that they have, or the application or the code has removed the L with nothing. Can we add something else inside of L? Yes. Let's say we can add capital M, for example. Let's run again. Now we have removed the L, but we haven't removed the L, but we have replaced it with M, right? Let's try to use the count. For example, here we have in the text 1, 2, 3 L's. So if we say, please remove the L, or logically replace the L with nothing, and let's use the argument or the third argument count. Let's say 2. For example, let's say 2 and run the code again. We will notice that the code had replaced only 2 L's, the first 2 occurrences of L's inside the text, and it left the third one because the argument has been exhausted and done replacing as we told the code to do. So this is the use of count. We need to replace only 2 occurrences of the L, or the first two occurrences of the letter that we are going to replace with nothing. So this is about string.replace. Let's keep the string as is and try to work on with another string method. The other string method is called str.lower. Here in our case, the string is text, and .lower transfers all the string to lowercase. So let's say print text dot lower and try to run the program again. Hello world. So string dot lower or text dot lower transfers all the letters or all the characters inside the string into lowercase, and vice versa. Here string dot upper does transfers all the letters inside the text to uppercase. Also, we can use here like text2 equals text dot replace dot upper, and then we have to print the text 2 in order to print the uppercases or the uppercase format. So here hello world printed out in uppercase because we used the string.upper method. The third method we have is string.join iterable. This is a little bit confusing, but we're gonna know why right now. So let's try one simple example here, like first name is Mohammed, and let's say family name equals Salah, the full name. What if I want to print out the first name, then the family name? I have two methods here, or I can do this through two methods. And this is the good thing about Python, about programming in general. The first method, I'm going to use the dot join. The dot join works like this. So let's work directly with print. When I'm using dot join, I have to tell Python to join with what? For example, I want to join the two parts here with a space. So I'll tell Python join these two parts inside the iterable. The iterable is a list. So join each part of the list with a space. Then using dot join, join what? Join the full name. Let's try that out. So twttr.py Mohammed Salah. He joined my name, or he joined the full name, which is a list in this case. He joined each part with a space. We can change the space to, for example, space dash space. Here we go. He used space dash space to join the two parts of the iterables and the iterable. The iterable, as we said, it can be a list, it can be a tuple, it can be a dictionary, whatever. The second method is using for. So we can iterate, instead of iterating using join, we can iterate using, yes, for loop. So for, better to use underscore and get used to that, or we can use I, as some people use I generally. So for I in full name, so we're gonna iterate inside the list of full name, which has two parts, the first name and the family name. So for I in full name, so the first I would equal first name, the second I would equal family name. We're gonna print the I. But if we stopped here, let's see what happens. Let's run the program. Let's comment that out and run the program again. The program, as we know, Python, after each print, it takes another line automatically. So how to prevent that? Let's go back to the browser. This is why here they told us to use end equals nothing. Back to the Visual Studio Code. If we try this to prevent Python from taking a new line after each iteration, so the first iteration I would equal first name, and then Python, if we did not use end equals nothing, it will take a new line. So we need to stop this behavior. So we'll use end equals nothing to stop Python from taking a new line after each iteration. And let's try this again. Yes, it worked, but we have a problem. We have here no spaces. So we can deal with this here. Int equals space, run again. Now it works. So this is a brief about the string methods, and we're going to use them inside of our application. Let's get to the problem set. So the problem set, inside the problem set, we're going to have like a roadmap, a small roadmap to solve the problem. And the first thing, we're going to create a main function. So inside this main function, we're going to handle the input from the user through a main definition. The second step, we're going to create the function to remove the vowels, and we're going to call it the remove vowels, which will take a text. Let's try this. Define main function. Let's pause for a moment. As we know from CS50, name equals main, like that. Then call main for us to avoid any confusion. Let's go back to main. Let's create a variable called prompt, and this prompt will use a function called input. Input will stop the program until the user enters something, then moves on, and the thing that the user will enter on the screen or in the terminal will be saved here inside the prompt, so I can use it for later. And let's clarify things for users so he doesn't see an empty screen or an empty terminal. Enter a string, for example, or let's say enter a text. Okay, and then how are we going to handle this text? We're going to call a function called remove vowels, which will take a text. This text is inside the prompt itself. Then we have to define the remove vowels function, which will take a text as a prompt. This text will be the variable prompt, and let's take further action. In order to move on, we have to tell Python what are the vowels that he's gonna remove. So in order to do that, we're gonna create a variable called vowels and put them inside a list, and let's take them from the browser. These vowels are A, E, I, and O, and U. Then we need to iterate inside the vowels and compare them with the text. So generally, we're going to tell Python, if one of these vowels, whether they are in a capital format or in a small letter format, if one of these vowels is inside the text, please remove them from the text and then give me the text after these vowels are omitted. Simply, we're gonna use for. So for v, say v in vowels, because we're gonna iterate inside the vowels, and then we're gonna put a condition. So after each iteration, for example, the first iteration of v will equals a, second iteration will equal e, then I, etc. So we're going to use the if condition. So if v in text, what happens if the v in text, we need to update the text. So we'll see text will equal text dot replace. As you remember, the replace, we can remove the letter or the iteration with nothing. That means that we delete it. So replace the old with the new. What is the old? The old is v. In this case, v is a capital letter, and we will see how to deal with it if it's a small letter. So replace v with nothing in case the v is, or the vowel letter is in capital. Else, what if it's not a capital letter? Then we will update the text to be text dot replace the v dot lower. We will turn it to a lowercase. If the vowel in capital letter is in the text, we will remove it. And if it's in a lowercase inside the text, also we will remove it. Indentation. So that means that compare the vowel in its case, which is capital letter case, if it's in its case inside the text, so replace it as is. But if it's in a lowercase, also replace it from the text. Let's try this. By twttr.py, let's say Twitter. Now we have removed the I and the E from the text. Let's try another thing from the problem set itself, which is what's your name? Let's copy it, run again. Now we have removed also the A, the O, the U, and the A from the text and printed out the text as is. Let's try one last thing, CS50. It must be printed out as is. This is the solution of the problem set. If you finish this, do the check 50 on the Visual Studio Code of the CS50 website itself before you submit the problem set. This is like a debugger. If there is any problem, it will show you. Then submit 50, copy this and paste it, and then approve the academic honesty. Good luck and see you in another problem set.